Hi everyone,
Hi guys,
and
how are you
welcome
doing?
back to
Wendy and Mark.
Wendy and Mark.
Yes. So guys, today we're actually going to talk about some of the surprising things that you find after moving to Canada. I'm pretty sure for Mark it wasn't as a big surprise because he was born and raised here.
Yeah, for me it was more of moving to the center of Canada.
Yes, the center of the
from the
universe.
peripherals.
Toronto. Yes.
Yeah.
So the number one most important thing that I found very quickly after coming to Canada is how important it is to actually have a car, to own a car.
Yeah, you put down here 15 minutes by car equals 2 hours by public transit. Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Having a car. But a car is a big expense. There's the cost of the car, there's the maintenance, insurance, gas, blah, 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 blah. And then it breaks down, it sits in your driveway and rusts.
I mean, it might be a big expense, but trust me, it's a necessity over here.
Absolutely.
Because growing up in Africa, cars were a luxury. Like, you can either have a car or not. It doesn't make a difference.
Even I think, young people, where I grew up, young
Yeah.
people didn't really need cars. Public transit was one way to get around as a kid. The other way was walking or a bicycle.
Yeah.
So I think still young people can get around, at least get to immediately close areas.
Yeah.
But you're right, as an adult with a job, just because you move into a town doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be working there. In fact, it's almost 9 times out of 10, isn't it, that you're working
it's
somewhere
not
else.
convenient, guys. So if you're planning to move to Canada, make sure that you start saving for a car, because you cannot go to work and be okay without having a car.
So let's touch on that. What is
Yeah.
saving for a car? Is it $500? Is it $1,000? Is it $5,000?
It depends, because some people, they can actually start with like a car that's almost kind of broken down, that might break down here and there. But
Yeah, certainly if you're handy.
if you're handy, you
do
can
a little
fix
bit
it.
of mechanical work, or at least keep the thing working. It doesn't have to be operating at top performance, but
No.
if you can keep it working, then maybe $1,000 or $2,000 is enough to get you something that
Yeah,
at least will run
absolutely.
through the winter.
Yeah.
But if you want something that you're not going to constantly be in the backyard fixing, and I know I've owned them. A $5,000 to $10,000 car is going to be a vehicle that you're not going to be out there every weekend working on, but it's definitely not going to be top notch.
No.
And if you want something new off the lot and you're here in Canada, you're looking
No,
at
for a new
$100,000
immigrant,
Canadian.
for a new immigrant, unless if you're actually coming with money from where you're coming from, because yes, there's few immigrants that come here and they're already rich, then that's a different story.
Well-
but this one is for new immigrants who are coming here, like starting over.
Right,
Like,
and
you need a car.
your next point, great segue,
Yes.
is credit. So let's say you have 10 grand in the bank and you want to invest that in a car.
Yeah.
You don't just need a job, you need credit, a credit score.
Yes.
And going by past experience, I think they're going to want to see something in the range of 650 to 750 to finance a vehicle. And then they're going to say, we need 2 different people to co-sign on it. So it might be you and your wife, or it might be you and a friend, or you and a sponsor, or whatever the case may be.
Yes. And when it comes to your credit, it's not just about the car. Like, it's also pretty much your entire life. Like in North America or Canada specifically, it hangs on having great credit. And if you ruin your credit, and remember, credit, you don't actually own the money on the credit card. So if you spend it and then you ruin it, you're never going to be able to buy a house. You can't buy a house here in Canada with bad credit.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to look at a credit card. A lot of people look at it, like you said, as, hey, look at me, I've got $5,000, I'm going to go spend it. But it's not, is it?
No.
Credit card is money you're loaning yourself. So if you've got $5,000 in the bank, then you take the card, you use it, and you pay it back. I'm going to say immediately. Forget about this trying to make the minimum payment routine. Pay it back immediately. Use it again, pay it back. Use it again, pay it back. And that's going to build your credit score, because now you've been given a credit card, you've been given access to credit, and you're using it. I don't want to say properly, but properly to grow your credit score.
Yeah, and also a cell phone. When you own a cell phone bill, like that cell phone bill, it also goes against building your good credit. And
Cell phone's
also
a good
the
one
bills,
too, because these are things you kind of need to live. At least in Canada, you're going to need a cell phone. You're going to need a means of communicating, means to your friends and family, but also to work.
Yeah.
And you might even need a cell phone for work, to do your work, depending on what you're doing. If you're moonlighting as an Uber driver, these types of things require apps, and so you need a cell phone to run the app.
Yeah, and also the other bills, everything that you pay, make sure that you pay it on time. That goes towards building a great credit for you. So credit, very important.
Right, and it's not just credit you need to buy nice things. You actually need good credit, to get the cell phone.
Exactly.
Exactly. Or you're going to have to put a deposit down. You need good credit to rent an apartment. It's something you wouldn't think of, but you need good credit to rent an apartment.
Yeah.
You need good credit to purchase a TV on a layaway plan or a computer.
If you decide to do that.
For those types of things. So unless you're paying cash outright for everything under the table, you're going to need decent credit. And you can destroy it quickly.
Yeah.
You can grow it fairly quickly too. Within a matter of a few years, you can start to get a stronger credit score if you're working at it.
That is true, but I also know quite a few people who came from Africa and had never had experience with credit. So the moment they got their credit card, they start using it for like whatever they want, whether it's going to the movies or groceries or whatever, and then they don't pay it back. So they ruined their credit very quickly.
Yeah.
Building it back up, it's hard because unless if you've got a really high paying job.
Yeah.
Because it can take you up to 10 years to just pay back a $5,000 credit because there's interest on the credit card.
But you know what? Let's dispel the myth.
Yeah.
So it's not just people moving into the country with no experience in credit. It's also young people here in this country.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing to be young and get access to a credit card with a new job.
Yeah.
And not really pay attention to what you're spending on.
Yep.
And you know what? Putting your cafe latte at $7 cup of coffee on your credit card is a little stupid.
Yeah.
Unless, look, if you've got $5,000 sitting in the bank and you're using that credit card to buy simple things.
Yep.
Maybe it's lunch, groceries, I don't know, gasoline. Maybe it's your insurance payment on your car, and then you're immediately paying it back. Then you're exercising your credit and you're paying it back. So you're showing a good payment history, which can work in your favor. But but that's not about borrowing $5,000. It's about using the card when you already have the money. That's the key, right?
Exactly.
And I was taught that, just like everyone was taught that. And that's first you learn. Yeah. Maybe you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And then
most people do.
and then you make adjustments and changes, and then you reap the rewards.
Exactly.
So credit's important for things you wouldn't think of, like rent, and getting your cell phone, things of that nature. But it's also important for other things. Actually, I forgot one. Credit is important for insurance.
Yes.
For your car.
Yeah, even getting insurance for your car.
Otherwise, you might be paying that insurance outright, and that insurance for a first-time driver for that crappy $5,000 car can be upwards of $2,000, $3,000 for the year.
Yeah.
So it's quite pricey.
Exactly.
But it's also really important for big ticket items like a house.
Yeah,
so if you fancy yourself, going to buy a house someday, that's what building the credit is really all about, right?
Yes.
Or financing a business, or financing a vehicle, or financing education for your kids, etc.
It's literally anything that you're going to need to borrow money from the bank for. They look at your credit. So credit is very, very important.
Yeah, Canada is not a cash society.
No.
We may use cash to pay for things, but it's not a cash society.
No, it's not.
Canada, North America, the Western world is all about what's on paper.
Exactly.
Okay, so number 3.
Number 3, I also found out very quickly. So number 3, just because someone smiles at you and they're nice to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're there to help you. Because a lot of times you find that in Canada, when you have problems now, no one is there to help. So everyone, what do they call it? Like bears their own cross? Something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, so everyone carries their own cross. So when you're in need of help, no one is there to help. So don't ever think that because people are nice at you and they're smiling at you, that means they're going to be there for you when you need them. So just know that, your best bet in Canada, just go to work, save money, save money, save money, save money.
Yeah.
Because when that time comes, you're going to need some money in the bank.
My old man told me something. He said, he who travels best travels alone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a metaphor for going through life.
Yeah.
You know, you can have all the friends around that you want, and you're meeting at the bar, and you're buying them drinks, and they're buying you drinks, and everything's wonderful until shit hits the fan. And then guess what? You're on your own. So you better have looked after yourself, right?
Exactly.
So, and I don't think that's just the Western world. However, maybe it's more important when you're faced with some of the stressors of the Western world to recognize that the person who's smiling at you doesn't necessarily have your best interests at heart.
No.
And that goes for government workers, bankers, people you would think have got your back because you've given them money or bought stuff from them.
Yeah.
Not
even
necessarily
people,
true.
even,
So
honestly,
be wary of that.
Yeah, even people from your own country that you meet here, and then they are welcoming you, they are smiling at you, and then the moment you have a problem, a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times, no one is there to help you.
Yeah, I think keep in mind your countrymen who came before you. Yeah, they got some things figured out, and you know what else they might have figured out?
Yeah.
They might have figured out how to work you. To
Yeah,
benefit
it happens
themselves.
a lot.
It's like a pyramid marketing scheme built into culture.
Yes.
So be wary of your countrymen or friends and family that maybe came before you.
Yep.
They may not have your best interests at heart. But honestly, I mean, I think that it's like you said, everyone has their own cross to carry.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just about people being in a hard-up situation. Look, life is difficult in the Western world. There's a lot being advertised to you. There's a lot being advertised to your kids and your family that you're going to want to attain. And each thing requires additional cash or additional money or additional whatever, credit or extra working hard or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
A lot of those people are facing those same hard times as you. And it might just be as simple as putting food on the table.
Yeah.
So being wary of, who's out there to help you and who's out there to hurt you. It might be as simple as looking at people who are in situations. You might not even know they're in situations.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to say something else on this topic. A lot of times people see people on Facebook, or whether it's on Facebook or on Instagram, and then people post these expensive cars. Like you see people leaning next to a Mercedes Benz, or an Escalade, or some very fancy stuff. And then you just think that, oh, your relative is doing so well in Canada, right? Wrong. Because people do this purposely so that they look good to people back home. In actual fact, most of those people, they are living renting in one room. But because they've maintained good credit, they are able to actually get this car that they are paying so much money every single month to be able to maintain. And then you get fooled. And then when you come over here now thinking that life is amazing in Canada, and then the truth hits you in the face.
We know someone who recently did this. And I want to speak on this because I think it's important to point something out.
Yeah.
It's not just about pulling the wool over other people's eyes.
No.
When you socially commit to things that you haven't achieved, it kind of leaves you on the hook to prove those things out.
Yep.
And they might not even be attainable. Like, for instance, me posing next to a Maserati. So that my friends back home in Halifax think, oh, wow, look at Mark. Look how wonderful he's doing.
Yep.
I only then put myself in a situation where a couple of things happen. A, they hit me up for more money.
Yep.
Which hasn't happened, I should say. None of my
God.
friends have contacted me looking for anything, which, I think it's because we're very close to it. So I grew up on the east coast of Canada, and it historically has been a thing where people leave. My father traveled for work. My mother did too. We as a family traveled. And I think we're very much aware of how hard it can be to leave our home and move somewhere and set up shop and start working and pay back some of the debt you may have incurred trying to get there, and then trying to get ahead now in a marketplace that costs more to live. But I think some people that live further away, they're believing that. We watched this person take some photographs of themselves in some situations where maybe they were trying to showcase how wonderful they were doing, and now they'll have to answer for that. Now their friends and close family will wonder, well, if you're doing so well, how come you won't help us?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think it can bite you in the ass.
Yep.
Trying to pretend to be something you're not. And but this is like a thing now, right? There's like memes on social media that show morons posing on other people's cars while they hit the beeper button. So like it's a thing, right? So don't do it, because you just end up looking stupid.
Yeah.
It don't help you.
That's true.
Seasonal depression, it's real. I grew up in this country. You want to talk about seasonal depression in the Maritimes? It starts getting windy in, say, October. It rains, freezing rain, November, December. January is snowy, February is snowy, most of March is snowy. It can get pretty depressing when the sun goes down at 4 p.m. and you haven't even gotten off work yet. So now you drive home to headlights. You get up in the morning, you drive to work in headlights. The whole time you're on your way to work, it's dark. You walk through the parking lot into work, it's dark. You look outside at first break, it's just starting to get light again. And then the sun's going down at 3:34 in the afternoon. So it can make you feel sort of like you're on the grind, right? Whereas in the summer months, when the sun is shining, you feel wonderful. You're getting off work at 5 o'clock and the sun is just high in the sky.
Yep.
And you're in your backyard at 8 o'clock at night, the sun's still shining. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it keeps you feeling great. So I think be wary of that. And that might catch up to you before you even realize what's going on. You're going to think it's homesickness, right? And it's going to continue on. Like I say, everybody, if you're coming, come in April. Come in April. By the time you get to September, at least you'll know what you're dealing with here, in terms of missing your family and friends.
Well, like in terms of like you're talking about the winter depression, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so just to add to that, to what Mark just said, for people who are coming from Africa, especially like black people, seasonal depression, it's a real thing. Why? Because we have the sun in Africa. Like it's sunny, that's why our skin is this dark. We have this melanin because of that.
Like me
and
too,
yes,
tan.
So this melanin, it needs tanned. So this melanin needs a lot of vitamin D. So some of it, like it's actually scientifically proven that if you are not getting the sun, like, during those winter months, it can completely affect you and affect your mood, because we need that vitamin D to function. And that vitamin D is a hormone that your body makes, so it can't make it without the sun.
Yeah, disclaimer here, we're not doctors.
We're not doctors, but when you read about this
is what you find.
Yeah.
And they do speak on people of African descent.
Yes, it affects us the most because we are not from this climate. So when you
want
get
a warm
here,
climate, go to Mexico.
Yeah, so when you get here, what I can suggest for people with darker skin like myself, just make sure that you are taking a supplement. Again, I'm not a doctor, but if you want to do more research about this, you can do your own research, but this is what's been working for me. I don't get depressed in winter anymore ever since I discovered this, because I take a vitamin D supplement every single day.
But also, let me touch on this, okay? So the gig economy, working from home, all these things loan themselves to this issue. At the end of the day, it is quite sunny in most places in Canada during the winter. I say that sort of tongue-in-cheek, right? It's not sunny all the time. It's not balmy and hot.
Yeah,
but
Ben,
honestly,
even though it's sunny, like no one is going outside to actually go like, oh, I'm gonna go sunbathing.
But honestly, like even when you're inside the house and the sun is reflecting off the snow outside, and some of the evergreens are still green, it can still kind of give you that uplifting feeling. Oh, it's a beautiful day. So, like, I don't want you to think that come October the sun goes down and it don't come back up until April.
However, like the amount of sun that I need compared to the amount of sun that you need, it's very different.
Yeah,
So yes, it can put me in a good mood to see the sun shining through the window, but I don't get enough sun from that. So I have to take a supplement.
So the southern United States are where it's at for that. If you want to emigrate to a country that's Western world and you want opportunity, maybe the southern United States are where it's at.
Yeah, but it also depends. Like, is the economy there great?
I don't know.
Is the competition too high?
Maybe.
Because the reason why people come to Toronto is because Toronto has jobs.
But hang on
right?
now. We don't know much about the States.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
But we do know that in California, they got beautiful weather.
Yeah.
It's a massive cities.
Yeah.
Probably lots of opportunity.
Florida too.
Texas, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Florida. Same thing.
Yeah.
The Carolinas, maybe there's a bit of winter there, but at least they have longer summers.
Yeah.
So look, we just named 4 places where they're probably booming.
Well,
huge cities.
We don't know. The competition could be so high. We didn't do any research in those
also,
areas.
Also, if you're coming from Africa, it is a different world down there.
Yeah.
For people of color. So
yeah.
I don't know. Last but not least,
loneliness. Oh my gosh, loneliness in Canada. It's crazy. Like no one talks about this.
This might be a modern world thing too, though, right? Because I think you can all agree, even folks that are coming to us from other continents, the reality of today's world is you can walk out your front door and not say hello to your neighbors. We do, and we're very happy about it. But there are places that you can move. We've lived there. Where people don't want to know each other, and that seems to be a more common thing these days than ever before. So that's part of it. However, I think what you're touching on is you can't bring all your friends and family with you, and it takes some time to make genuine relationships, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually going to speak for myself. I've been in Canada now for more than 20 years. When I first came here, the loneliness was just over the top. I wanted to go back home. But then the only thing that was preventing me from going back to Africa, honestly, was the shame. Because I didn't want people judging me that, oh, look at her, she's already back within 2 years of living. But if it wasn't for the shame, I would have gone back to Africa like within 2 years of coming here.
I'm going to be dead honest with you.
Yeah.
In my early 30s, I was here at the center of the earth, Toronto area, and I was faced with going back home. And I very much felt that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Today I feel a bit different, as you do too.
Yeah.
Because we've been here long enough and we have built something.
Yes.
That I would not find it shameful to go back home.
No.
If anything, though, I would probably go home quietly. So when in my 30s, when I went home loud. But these days, I'd probably go home quietly. What do we mean by that? I mean, I'd go home with money in the bank, but I wouldn't talk about the money I made. When I was younger, I was proud of what I had done, and you can get very far ahead in the center of the earth. There's lots of opportunity here in Toronto. Look at it on a map; you'll see what I mean. It's literally dead center. So you can get pretty far here and make a lot of money. So, but I think shame is a real thing. You don't want to go back home to your friends and family and say I failed in some way. Yeah. And I did feel a lot of that when I was in my 30s and I was going back home. Like, what am I going back there for? But nowadays, I think I would enjoy going back home for a period of time anyway. But no, that definitely will keep you, especially coming long distance, right?
Again, but the difference is that you were coming from Nova Scotia to Toronto, but we're talking about people who are coming from Africa, people who are coming from India.
Yeah.
And then to come here and then realize that, oh my gosh, life here is not what I expected. Because I didn't do enough research before I came.
Who does?
And then you just think that, oh, life is supposed to be like what it is on TVs.
Sure, yeah.
And then suddenly you realize it's far from that.
Yeah, because there's no writers or producers involved in that, eh?
No.
Right?
And then suddenly you start to miss your family. Yeah. Like when I came here, my mother was still there in Africa. She was still alive. And I just was missing it so much. I just wanted to go back home and be with my family. You know, and making friends here, like it's almost like, you know, it's on the surface. It's not like deep friendships, like especially when you first come to Canada. Yes, over the years, I've managed to make like really meaningful friendships. So now I don't feel the same way. I don't even feel like going back home because I've now built a life here. But back
that can
then,
stop you early on.
Yeah, but I'm so grateful that I didn't actually pick up and left. But so right now I'm very thankful that I'm here, and you know, life has worked out quite well for me. And I don't know, for some people it didn't. I know a few people who decided to go back home after being here for 5 years because then they felt like they were just spinning their wheels and they were very lonely and they were not making any friends, and then, you know, missing their relatives, you know, especially when you're coming from this big community of family and friends,
and they're all wishing you well and hoping you'll do well, and you're leaving with all this promise. You know, we touched on something on a video that we did recently
Yeah.
We touched on what are the motives of, in this case, what were the motives of the Canadian government in advertising in your community about coming to Canada.
Yeah.
And we sort of maybe, for some people, unveiled the truth about what their motives are. They're not altruistic.
No.
In this video, we talked about your countrymen and what they might be saying to you to try and get you to come to Canada, and how they might try and use you, in most cases, as a cost-effective or cheap labor source. And I think that sometimes that's where the shame can come from. I met a lot of people in my trade who were not in my trade because they wanted to do what we do. They were in my trade because somebody brought them into it and promised them a future with it, and maybe even promised that it was just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But I think that can sometimes, hey, I'm going to Canada or the US or the UK or whatever, but hey, I'm going to the Western world, and wow, are things going to be different for me? Yeah. And I've done all this preliminary work as a young person or an experienced professional in my country, and now I'm going to Canada, and boy, oh boy, are things going to be wonderful. And then you get here and you find out, hey, guess what? For a period of time, and I did this too, I'm going to work for less than I'm worth. And I did this too. And many people from where I'm from came to Toronto area over the past 50 years and worked for less than they had worked for in the Maritimes, only to try and build their way up. So
yeah,
it's normal.
That's very common, actually.
But I think a lot of people look in the mirror and go, I'm a failure. Because I told my family that I was going to come to America and do all these wonderful things, and I came here, and look at me now, I'm being used by that guy. Or even working for a company, you can feel that way sometimes, right? It doesn't even have to be your countryman. It can just be a person who you feel like they're using you, or they don't really respect you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that feeling can kind of lead to those feelings of shame and failure.
Yeah. And so there's something else that I did not put on the list that I actually feel like maybe it's important. I'm gonna just throw it in there. So last but not least, like finding a job in your industry. I find that it's one of the things that people get so surprised when they come here. I used to know a doctor who was a doctor in Zimbabwe, and then when he came over here, he was working at a farm. And that sucks. After spending all those years in school, you come to Canada and then you're told that you need to go back to school so that you learn to do things the Canadian way. A lot of times when people come over here, you already have a family or you have bills to pay. So how can you go back to school and be able to sustain your family and do what you need to do?
The medical profession.
Right?
Right. It's not like you're doing this in your 20s again. You're doing it in your 40s and 50s.
Exactly. So when you're like a doctor, an engineer, like a lawyer, or whatever field or an accountant, whatever you've done in your country, just remember when you come over here, you're starting afresh. You're starting from zero again. You have to go back to school, make sure that you have the skills to survive in Canada.
But let me let you in on something, because the whole world is maybe not looking at things the way we used to look at things. Maybe working on a farm is not really that bad of a gig.
Baby, no. When you've been a doctor in your country.
But let me say this, okay?
Yeah. Why?
Well, because being a doctor, because you were a doctor, is not the only solution. Many people, including people that were born and raised here, go to school and learn about something that they don't do for the rest of their lives. So it doesn't have to be the end. Hey, many of you might be looking at me right now saying, oh, well, you didn't go to medical school. No, but I did a lot of things. And now I wear a t-shirt for a living, okay? So it's not just people who were engineers and doctors and lawyers who come to Canada and end up working on a farm. Sometimes it's people that are from here who went to school and learned how to be a doctor or whatever, and then ended up on a farm. And I say that loosely because I don't know anyone who did, but it's possible, right?
Yes.
So don't hate yourself for that, and don't think that that's a failure.
No, but
you're what in Canada, you have a job, you're sustaining yourself. Maybe that's part of the goal.
No, some of these people, babe, like they had a better life back home.
Yeah.
And to go from there being a doctor back in Africa, and then you come here and then you are told you can't be a doctor over here, and you have spent all your money with this move, and then suddenly the shame kicks in. You don't want to go back to Africa.
Yep.
So now you're taking a job at a farm. I don't think that it's anybody's dream to say, I'm gonna go to Canada so that I can work on a farm.
Well,
so what I'm actually telling people who are planning to come here is that do your research.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
If you went to school for 7, 8, sometimes even 10 years in a specific field, make sure that that field is transferable to Canada.
And if
not, then how many more years do you need to go back to school?
right. And that's fairly easy to figure out, isn't it?
Yeah.
You look for job postings.
Yeah.
And you apply for the job.
Yeah.
And they will tell you.
Or
right?
even if you go on certain websites, like you can do this research. It's not that difficult.
Right.
Do some research. Everything is now online.
Don't come
do
blind.
Do your research. Just don't travel blindly.
Yeah.
If there's anything I can say, just don't travel blindly. Just make sure that you do your research.
That's right.
Once you know what you're getting into, then you can move.
Yeah.
Don't get surprised.
And let me throw this out here.
Yeah.
The trades are hiring in North America, and because they're hiring and nobody wants to be a tradesperson, you can make a lot of money being a tradesperson. So consider that. Because it's a hell of a lot shorter period of time to go back and retrain for trades than it is to retrain to be a lawyer or a doctor.
We're still talking about people who are moving in here. They already have family.
Yeah, I know.
So some of these people might not be able to go back to school for 3 years.
Well,
to
apprenticeship
get a trade,
pays.
right?
Apprenticeship pays, and you don't have to be in school for 3 years.
Yeah.
You can start day one.
Okay, that is if they want to do that.
And I bet you it pays
right?
better than any of the service jobs that are out there. And you get treated a little better too. You can even be unionized. Anyway, that's my pitch.
Are you pitching for your
I
own
am. No,
own
it's
business?
but not just for us, but also for all the trades. They're all going through this, and it was a very popular thing in the '80s, not just in whatever country you're from, but also right here in Canada, to tell your kids to be a doctor or a lawyer. And so many of them thought, I don't want to be a tradesperson. And today there are more tradespersons retiring than ever before. And as a result, the dollar figure per tradesperson has gone up, which is great, right? And it's only going up further right now. So that's...
So I guess that's all we had for you guys today. So thank you for joining us today.
And don't forget to
like,
subscribe,
share, and write in the comment. Let us know what you think about this video. Okay.
Other than that, thanks for joining us.
Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.